going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Johnny Nelson joins me in Sheffield. Johnny, thank you very much for giving me some of your time. How are you, mate?
Yeah, it's going to be a busy weekend of boxing. Again, I like that. I like those kind of weekends.
Yeah, this is what we live for. Have we seen kind of the two sides of weight making there? You've got Reece Mould, who kind of got on the scales, and I think a few people went, looks a little bit drained, but he makes weight. Then you've got Hamid Gaz, who comes in 0.6 over, but strolls in and looks completely fine. So is that kind of essentially the two sides of weight making, I guess?
Even though Hamid has to go back and make sure he makes the weight, Reece looks drawn at that's the first thing everybody noticed. Both fighters, you're looking at me thinking they're tight at the weight, so they've had to work hard at this weight. So there's a lot at stake here, and Reece brought a good support down with him, and that's what he needed. There's a sense of complacency about him in regards to this fight, as though it's a done deal. And if it comes off, the win comes off, and he gets the fight done, all well and good. But I just worry when I see that level of complacency in such a fight that high stakes, because sometimes you get a guy that will box out of his skin and never boxes well again when the stakes are so high. So I think Mould needs to put some respect in it in his head. And if he does that, then what should happen? He should win. But if he makes a mistake, it'll be a bad mistake to swallow.
Obviously, Sheldon back on the card as well. I know he had a 2022 where he would have gained experience, he'd have learnt a lot of things, and I know from speaking to him earlier, he's looking for a big 2023, and just kind of to kick on, I guess, and learn at this stage of his career.
This is his last 4 rounder. We'll step up to 6 and 8 rounds. I'm hoping this time next year, I want to get Sheldon at least in the top 8 in the UK. I know the Central Area title fight's being fought for. That is the next step for Sheldon. That's the next step we're going to go down the line. If the title becomes vacant, it becomes vacant. It'd be a pretty good domestic between those two, as they fought each other before and he beat Sheldon. So we just got to wait and see. So there's plans there for Sheldon. Now things are starting to come into place. Sparring's come to place. A blueprint comes to place for the next 12 months. So if you do it 12 months at a time, then his development should develop at the same time as his fights.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing him and all the others in action tomorrow. The roof is going to blow off that place. I think the last time Al Guy spoke to you would have been post Smith Eubank in Manchester Arena. A lot's kind of gone on since then. Just kind of your reflection now. We've had, I suppose, a period of time to reflect on what we saw in the ring between Chris and Liam.
You saw Chris make the ultimate mistake of getting down to a weight and not having to listen. Having to feel, because he didn't listen. His dad, you can understand his dad's worry about him getting down to fight Conor. So then after that didn't happen, he still got down to weight, he got in the scales. You listen, I can get you down to 6 stone. You won't be able to tie your shoelaces, you won't be able to walk straight. And I think that's the lesson that Chris learned that night, in regards of how aesthetically he looks. Boxing is a dangerous place to be if you're not in the best position you can be to defend yourself. So that was that. And that, again, it sounds like I'm taking away from Liam Smith's boxing ability, which I'm not. Even before the fight, I said I actually thought Chris has to box Liam. Chris has to fight Liam, not box him. Whereas actually, at first, I thought Chris won round 1, 2, and 3, in my opinion. But Liam's smart boxing brain calculated pressure to make a man box out of his skin, and then once that happened, once he stepped in, he was getting closer and closer. His time was getting closer. This was his boxing brain working. Rat-a-tat-tat, the fight was over, and that's what the skill, that's what experience gives you. And so it's one thing that's never going to be matched in regards to the two of them. They're talking about the rematch. I don't know what Chris can change. The only thing he can change to change the result is probably making it a higher weight. And that's the only thing that will change. Otherwise, I'd expect the same again. Maybe later on in the fight, but I'd expect the same again. I just think punch resistance-wise, you saw it wasn't on. It wasn't there. I spoke to Carl Froch. I spoke to George Groves before that fight, and this is why I kind of changed my mind on the Wednesday from saying Liam Smith all week. And these boys said, Johnny, we've whacked Chris. You know, I've used him for sparring. Said Carl, whacked him. If boy can take a shot. George Groves, Johnny, I've landed some heavy shots on this kid. He can take it. So I'm thinking, you know, I'm trying to do the maths here. You got one guy that's very fit, can take a shot. You've got one guy that's not as good as what he was, but he's better than most. So I thought that timing might be right. Then, consequently, he made the fundamental mistake, rinsed himself down, so there was no punch resistance there, and I think that scarred his career. That scarred. Don't be surprised if you probably see maybe 2 fights out of Chris if this rematch happens. I don't know where he'll go. I don't know what he'll do. I don't know how he can get over that.
In terms of the kind of lodging the appeal and a potential elbow being used, obviously we know when there's them moments in the corners, there are forearms, there are elbows, that kind of stuff can just happen in an exchange. Do you think that was purely based off them thinking ahead for the rematch and going, you know what, this is kind of going to get the stir going, essentially?
They needed to create a case for a rematch.
Do you think they actually believe in that case in a sense?
So the public saw him get sleep, someone get drunked up, someone get hit, or he was all over the place. The public saw that. So now, how do you talk the public into believing you've got a chance again? So they're trying to find a case. So that is their case. He hit me with the elbow, which is why. And these things happen in a fight. Most people get on with it. They don't use it as an excuse for losing. And so it's just building the case. But in reality, you know, when Liam turned it on, he had everything and anything in his arsenal. An elbow wouldn't have just made that one effect. You know, it was his punch accuracy, the direction of the shots coming in left, right and centre. So he got the job done. And they're just making a case for a rematch. But again, it doesn't matter how you try and fool the public in regards to why there has to be a rematch. The question is, how will that have affected Chris's mentality? That's a major question.
Yeah, well, we see kind of what goes from here on in. And we saw the announcement for Anthony Joshua and Jermaine Franklin. Kind of been murmurs about it for a while anyway. But the official announcement, I know the press conference is as we speak, April the 1st. Just kind of your take on that as I'll say return fight, a fight after defeat for Anthony Joshua.
There's a danger there. And for Anthony Joshua, he needs a confidence-building fight. He needs to go through the motions just to start his new path again. So of course, every time Anthony Joshua boxes, there's speculation about the opponent. Why would this be any difference? Now the questions are the level of the opponent, the level of desire from AJ. Is it the right opponent? People are going to run him down. People are going to give him a hard time. AJ's fought everybody put in front of him. So now, if he's got a gimme, now if he's got been put in for a fight that needs to test him, that needs to bring the best out of him, good. That's what he needs. And so if you do that, you know, the guys talking about developing himself and getting back on track again, this will show what desire AJ's got, an appetite he's got for this game.
And I suppose, like you said, there are people questioning AJ's desire. He changed things up by bringing in Robert Garcia. He's now got Derek James. He's looked abroad. He's looked at home. It kind of looks like there is someone who wants to get that kind of AJ of old back. It's not like we're looking at a man who's kind of just dismissed all change. So I suppose looking at it from that angle, with the change of trainers and the change of setups that he's tried, there is desire in AJ still to continue.
Yeah. Listen, talk is cheap. He's said what he wants to do. He's gone to look for another trainer. He's showed commitment to go and train elsewhere. It's got to be a lifestyle. It's not like a holiday break. It's got to be a lifestyle. That is what you're going to do. Even when you've not got a fight coming up, you've got to be working with your coach. Not just working in the gym saying, "Coach, I did this." You've got to be working with your coach because it's consistent development. So when you're going to visit a coach or you're going to go into training camp, say, "Right, I've shipped you in. You'll do. I'll learn what I've got to learn from you." To me, that's not how it's done. It's got to be a lifestyle. You look at Virgil Hunter with Andre Ward. Ward lived the life, you know. In our gym, if you were there, you had to live the life. Only one of the two fighters dipped in and out, just turned up 12 weeks before a fight. But very few people can do that. If you live the life, that means you're learning, your development is ingrained. It's not something you remember for the first 3 rounds, you forget when you're tired. So AJ's got to live the life. What he's done is perfect, but he's got to show he's willing to live that life.
Yeah, really looking forward to seeing AJ's UK return on April the 1st. The Tommy and Jake stuff, obviously we got a cracking fight on the night with Artur Beterbiev and Anthony Yard. We kind of had that, 20-minute break in the middle where we saw Tommy and Jake in the ring. They are now going to fight, potentially. Jake's in Saudi Arabia kind of claiming that Tommy's not pushing the fight. I just want to know what you make of kind of this thing as a whole. Obviously, you got Tyson, who kind of seems to be quite pally with Jake, yet kind of standing there saying, if you lose, we are going to leave you in Saudi Arabia. So just a little bit of pressure. And Jake is just a mind games man, so just how do you take this whole thing, Johnny?
Well, I think obviously these boys are saying and doing whatever they can to give it as much noise and attention as possible. I think when it comes to the fight itself between Tommy and Jake Paul, I think Jake can actually fight. I won't surprise me if he beat Tommy on this truth. Jake is different from most of the YouTubers because he can actually fight. Most of 95% of the YouTubers can't fight. They can fight each other, but they can't fight a traditional a fighter that's been doing it from day dot. Tommy's worked hard enough, just like KSI, I've worked hard enough to get the respect to say, all right then, I'll give it you. There might be novices, but they're getting world-class attention, world-class money, world-class numbers watching them. So that's why Tommy had won. Tommy and Tyson, everyone are involved in this. In reality, you've got two novices fighting each other that have got the likes of the heavyweight champion, the best heavyweight in the world, endorsing them. How often does that happen? You've got guys here that fighting the Magna. Could you see AJ coming down and really standing in front of the camera and really standing this fight? No, but they've got to package it right and be smart about it. So half of it's hype, but I think you've got to give Jake Paul the respect because the kid can fight.
Just one more thing from me on the Conor Benn situation. We're hearing, I think it was about a week ago, the news article that came out and said he could be reinstated in the WBC rankings. They're kind of doing their own finding. The board are doing a separate finding. Is this just kind of adding a little bit more mess to what was already a very messy situation?
So first of all, have you heard that from the WBC? No, you haven't. So I can say whatever I want, create that speculation, create that noise. And if that is the case and he's sure that he's got a strong case, there's no reason why he wouldn't say something. Why have the WBC not said anything to this date? So it's all speculation. They might have had conversation with them to make them think this. So we shouldn't get giddy excited and run away with ourselves and think, right, he's back in because the WBC have said X, Y, Z. They haven't. So just wait to see what they say. They haven't, and people are getting excited about the possibilities and the discussion.
I know Eddie said there was kind of minor talks with Manny Pacquiao. Don't know where that's gone since that was said kind of a few days ago, but again, regardless of what's happened, let's just say, for the sake of this question, that is true. That is a fight that, for Conor as a comeback, generates extreme interest.
Without a doubt. Listen, Conor, the reason why there's so much noise about this failed drug test, because it's a young man with so much commercial potential, it's ridiculous. So on a commercial level, this young man is an endorsement dream. On a professional level, as a fighter, he was one of the fastest developing fighters, UK fighters I've seen for quite a while. Improved every fight. Unfortunately, a dark cloud has risen above him, and so therefore he's got to get rid of that, and he's got to try and get back on that pedestal.
Is it one of them things where the public are kind of potentially just out of the loop, and perhaps one day, I know this is kind of a question I guess no one can answer, I guess, but do you think the public are just out of the loop, and maybe one day, be it even 5 years down the line, this will all come out and we'll all go, God, we really knew nothing?
Yeah, but and that's it. And the way Conor's talking, the way his team's talking, we don't know, but let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see. Again, it's all speculation, and the job has been done. Everybody's talking about it some way or another, so they've done the job.
I'm going to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something, completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.